Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Roots Matter Live, where we talk about news, talk about politics, talk about secularism, talk about anything else that I can think of, and social justice, and all of them collide on your internet web screens. My name is Cynthia McDonald, and I am your host, and I am so excited about this show today. I'm going to be joined by some very good friends in the community that I have done podcasts with in the past. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion. I call them my perfidious panel. And if you are wondering what perfidious means, the teacher and me is going to tell you, look it up. Now, if everyone can go ahead and file on in before I get started with stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and just say the things that we always say. Make sure that you are liking this video, making sure you are sharing it on your various social media platforms. Make sure you are also hitting the subscribe button and also clicking on the bell so that you get notifications that every time I go live or upload another video. And also, if you really like the content on this channel, also consider being a patron. You can do that by going to www.patreon.com/camglamming. Okay, I got all that out the way. So before I actually bring up my guest that's going to be joining us with this perfidious panel, it's time for another rant of Cynthia's Corner, which is entitled, by the way, The SAVE Act and the Long History of Voter Suppression in America. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cynthia's Corner. We need to talk about the SAVE Act because what's being sold to the public as election integrity smells a whole lot like something this country has done before. The SAVE Act has passed the House and is headed to the Senate. On paper, it requires proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Supporters say it's common sense. They say it protects democracy. But let's tell the truth. America's voting restrictions are almost never about protecting democracy. They are about controlling who gets to participate in it. We've seen this movie before. Poll taxes weren't called voter suppression. They were called responsibility. Literacy tests weren't called intimidation. They were called qualification. Grandfather clauses weren't called racist. They were called tradition. But their purpose was crystal clear. They were designed to keep Black citizens out of the electorate while pretending the system was fair. And when Black Americans and their allies challenged those systems, the response wasn't debate. It wasn't compromise. It was terror. During the Civil Rights Movement, people didn't just argue about voting rights, they died for them. On June 21st, 1964, 3 young men went to Mississippi to help register Black voters. James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner. They were arrested, released into the night, hunted down, and murdered by members of the Ku Klux Klan with help from local law enforcement. Let that sink in. In this country, the fight for voting rights has been paid for in blood. So when lawmakers propose new barriers today, we don't have the luxury of pretending it's just policy. We don't get to shrug and say, well, that sounds reasonable. History demands we ask harder questions. Who actually has access to passports and birth certificates? Who can take time off work to deal with bureaucratic red tape? Who faces the highest rates of document errors, name mismatches, and administrative hurdles? Because the SAVE Act won't land evenly. It never does. Restrictions on voting always fall hardest on the same groups: working class people, elderly voters, students, naturalized citizens, and disproportionately Black and Brown communities. Not because the law says their names out loud, because systems don't have to say race to produce racial outcomes. And here's the part we cannot ignore. Every generation in America faces a test. Will it end democracy, or will it quietly chip away at it? The civil rights generation answered that question with courage. They marched across bridges knowing they might be beaten. They registered voters knowing they might lose their jobs. They challenged power knowing they might lose their lives. They did not do all of that so future lawmakers could resurrect voter barriers dressed up in new language. And that's what this moment is about. Not just paperwork, not just procedure, not just some technical change to registration rules. This is about whether we recognize voter suppression when it shows up wearing a suit and tie instead of a hood. Because democracy doesn't collapse all at once, it erodes through minor requirements, through bureaucratic obstacles, through policies that seem neutral but function like gates. And once those gates are built, they rarely stop with one group. So let me end with this. People in this country have been beaten, jailed, and buried for the right to vote. Not for symbolism, not for tradition, for power, for voice, for dignity. And if lawmakers today think we're going to forget that history while they rebuild barriers with polished language and legal jargon, they've misunderstood something fundamental. We remember. We remember the bridges. We remember the graves. We remember the price that was paid so democracy could belong to more than just the comfortable and the connected. So, no, we are not going backwards quietly. Not on our watch. Not in our communities. Not in this generation. Because the right to vote isn't just a policy issue, it's the line in the sand. And history is watching to see which side we stand on. All right, everybody. And with that being said, I also want you all to look more into the SAVE Act and how it definitely disenfranchises people, especially from marginalized groups. And I also would love for you to please contact your senators and tell them that you vote no, and tell them rather to vote no to the SAVE Act. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get into this conversation that we're going to have this evening with my guest. But before we get started, let me go ahead and give him a little introduction. So, tonight on The Roots Matter, we're digging into three stories that sit on the intersection of power, truth, and whose voices get heard. From political theater around the so called religious liberty to serious questions about immigration enforcement transparency to the often overlooked legacy of Black queer trailblazers. This conversation is about more than headlines. It's about what kind of society we're building and who's getting written into the story. So tonight, I'm joined by my very good friends from the atheist community. Everyone, please welcome Scott Dickie and Teo El Ateo.
I became invisible for a moment. That was
Mm.
scary. It has happened before, but not like this. So yeah, movies in Spanish kind of lose a lot, so I will have to rewatch many of them just in English to speak with you. And guys, I miss you, so I'm very happy to be here with you all. It's been a really more than a year, which is a lot.
Oof, that's a long time. That's a long time. Yeah.
Look at me. I done went down my damn self and I didn't even touch nothing. God damn it.
It's the
It's
microphone.
gremlins in the machine. They come after us because they don't like the articles that I picked. Well, guess
That's
what?
probably it. That's probably
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's okay. We're going to get into it, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into our first article that's entitled Trump's Religious Liberty Commission Descends into Unholy Mess over beauty queen's expulsion. This was on the Daily Beast, and I just want to let everybody know that if you are wanting to get more familiar with these stories, all the links of the articles that we're talking about this evening are going to be in the show notes below. Please feel free, go ahead and click on them, pull them up so that you can go ahead and follow along with the conversation. Please and thank you. So I'm just going to give a synopsis of the story, and then we're going to go ahead and get into our talk. Right. All right. So this article reports on internal turmoil within the Religious Liberty Commission created under Donald Trump after a controversial decision to remove former beauty queen and conservative activist Carrie Prejean from the panel. Oh, poor Prejean. Prejean was reportedly expelled by the commission's leadership after a contentious hearing on anti-Semitism. During the season, she questioned witnesses in ways critics have I'm sorry. She questioned witnesses in ways critics said shifted the focus toward on her own political messaging, including pressing them on Israel and Zionism rather than campus anti-Semitism. Her removal sparked backlash and infighting amongst the commission and allies, exposing ideological divisions within the body. According to the reporting, the episodes has fueled broader criticisms that the commission functions less as a neutral defender of religious freedom and more as a political driven platform shaped by culture war priorities. The dispute over Preaching's expulsion highlights tensions over how anti Semitism, Israel, and religious liberty are framed, and whether the commission itself is credible or merely symbolic. Okay, y'all. I am ready to hear your thoughts. I'm just gonna go down the line to the person that's closest to me to the person that's furthest away. So Scott,
All right.
what you got?
You know, the thing that stood out to me when I was looking into this was this idea. I mean, it's a commission on religious liberty, right? So that's what they're calling it, religious liberty, and it's already being haunted by arguments within. I mean, if it was really about religious liberty, you would think that that wouldn't be coming up in that way. They wouldn't be worrying about what people are saying or how they're saying it or when they're saying it or who they're saying it to. It's about liberty, right? I think we can see through the thin haze of smoke and see the real face behind it. It's really a pro-Christianity organization or effort, I should say. And not only that, and I hope Christians take notice of this. Not only is it actually the opposite of religious liberty, but even within Christianity, they're starting to have little squabbles about which Christianity they're promoting. And so, you know, religious freedom, true religious freedom must include freedom from religion and freedom to be a religion that other people don't like. And I think we're really, this really is shining a light on the misnomer here that we're seeing.
Yeah. I Yeah, it's kind of interesting when I think about the name, like, that's what you're highlighting when you're first like thinking about it, like religious liberty. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so in the in the establishment clause, when Congress is saying that they shall make no law to neither create a religion that is, state ran, nor are they going to favor any religion over another.
Absolutely.
So if this is already spelled out in our Constitution, I I I don't really see the reason being that we have to have a religious liberty commission to, I don't know, police this in the first place. And I mean, and as we go through the article, we can see that, especially when we're looking at, the person who just got expelled, whose religion is favored amongst everybody else. I'm going to save. I'm going to simmer on that for a minute. And Teo, I would love for you to go ahead and chime in with your thoughts. And I know that you even had like something else that you want to tie into the whole conversation.
Oh boy, I have so many things to say about this. I will try to go as low as possible.
Yeah.
As you're non-American talking about American issues, here in South America, we see that the USA is licking the boots of Israel. It happened last year. There is a clown here called Milei. He's Argentinian. He sucks Trump's dick, if I can say that in here. I can,
Absolutely, you
sorry.
sure can. Cucking for Trump. Yes, you can. I ain't gonna stop you.
Awesome. Beautiful. I will repeat it more often then.
Oh, great.
And did you know that when talking about human rights, only 3 countries in the world said that torture shouldn't be a thing? I mean, should be a thing. Only 3 countries support torturing people:
Hmm.
Israel, the USA, and Argentina. Because whatever thing that Trump does, Milei does.
Mm,
So
Yeah.
you can see how power is flowing. Before this show
right.
started, I show you guys in the chat about how Israel now has the rights to every new type of war technology that the USA generates.
Yeah.
So they are kind of giving them everything.
Hmm.
And as I was analyzing this thing of this, what's the name? Religious Liberty Commission, because once again, non-American here, I had to Google this. And as you say, yeah, this is what is this thing doing? Because they are advisory in nature. They are not a legislative institution. This was made by an executive order 14,291 in May and last year, obviously. And this thing only provides policy recommendations to the government. And yep, I've been talking about this a lot lately, but there is another government who decided to do something similar in 1935. They created
Mm,
something called Rich Ministry for Church Affairs, in which what they were doing was taking Protestant churches and make them work under the Nazi ideological control. So, basically aligning Christianity with national socialist racial ideology, and anyone who went against that, well, there were concentration camps for that. And if I can be shown in big screen, because there is something I want to show that for people who know me, this got me expelled from other places, but I would love to show it in here. This thing that I'm showing you is the domestic terrorist and organized political violence. What's the name? It's an official publication by the
Polish, but I thought it was Dachau.
Dachau? Oh,
Dachau, yeah,
thank you.
with a hard K. Yeah.
Perfect. And why was this important? Because the same year they banned all atheist and free thinker organizations. So, guys, basically, it happens in the past. They started talking about how you shouldn't go against Christianity, you shouldn't go against the ideas of the government. Then they started banning all these organizations and institutions. That means if they do the same today, this channel is going to disappear, mine as well, and every other single channel in YouTube, because YouTube sadly is an American organization that talks against Christianity. And this worries me. It worries me a lot, especially when you see that even between them, they cannot start criticizing each other because, okay, yeah, she was, I mean, they called her anti-Semitic for what I read. Maybe I'm wrong, but she was just criticizing Israel and their attacks and their behavior. But this is classical dictatorship behavior. So I'm very worried about you guys and everything that is happening over there, because I will really miss you if all our channels disappear and we get banned from talking just because we are a bunch of terrorists, according to them.
Well, I want to bring a little bit more context to the article itself. I'm going to, I pulled it up because I want to read a little bit of it. Because, like, Prejean basically was criticizing Israel, but she was more so trying to say that we should support the, like stop calling Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and people like that like anti-Semites, and also she was a recent, if I believe according to the article, that she was a recent Catholic converter. Like she converted to Catholicism. Poor child. But this is what she specifically says. She says, stop calling Candace Owens an anti-Semite. She's not an anti-Semite. She just does not support Zionism. And that really has to stop. Bowler told Dylan, I don't know why you keep bringing her up, and Tucker Carlson. And Dylan shot back that Owens and Carlson are the two most famous anti-Semites, while citing Owens' controversial remarks, such as saying her Jewish critics were from the synagogue of Satan. Yikes. So and then it goes on and says that no member of the commission has the right to hijack a hearing for their own personal and political agenda at any issue. This is clearly without question. And what happened Monday in our hearing on anti-Semitism in America, Patrick wrote while announcing Bowler's removal. This was my decision. So I'm going to say this, and then I kind of want you guys to to chime in. Because I believe that there is a very proper conversation to have about the actions that's going on in the Middle East, concerning, concerning the basically the extension of Palestinians in Gaza, and also the infringement on the West Bank, and also the annexing of of the Golan Heights, and how all these things actually, according to treaties that were drawn in the past, are illegal for it to be done.
Okay.
And also there are charges, war crime charges, that have been drawn up against the regime that happens to be in the Middle East right now, called no result. Israel. I mean, like, Benjamin Netanyahu and two of his cabinet members have been indicted on ICC charges. They have. That is on paper, right?
Right.
And we know, and for us to actually sit here and see images that are coming out of Gaza, reporters, like, I believe there was over 240 journalists, the highest ever, that have been unalived in that area, just for reporting on what was happening in Palestine at that particular time. That's insane. So I think there's a proper conversation to have, to say, hey, these things are not good. They need to be addressed in a holistic manner, and still not necessarily lean on anti-Semitism, because it's not Jewish people at the whole that is doing this. It is a specific nation that's being led by a specific person and a specific cabinet that's doing this. So to call that out, I don't have a problem with that. But let's keep it a buck. Candace Owens, especially, and Tucker, they have devolved themselves a lot into conspiracy theory. And Candace has made her bread and butter on, concocting conspiracy theories about anything and everything that she can. And she has a loyal following who are listening to her on the daily as she's, says whatever it is that she wants to say. It was Macron, his wife was a man. And now she's being sued for it. And she, when she called out the issue that was that was going on in Israel, then it devolved into something completely separate, and it did get Semitic. Okay,
Mhm.
and that's not right. So this is something that we know of this person, and if you can say, yeah, anti-Semitism is wrong, and you should never engage in it whatsoever. I agree. But at the same time, we can still actually point out what's happening in that region is wrong as well. And those people
Oh,
need to
for
be
sure.
protected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. There's a huge difference there.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, just pointing out issues is not, especially if you're pointing at the behaviors
Right.
instead of the people. I mean, we're not saying that the people that are committing these atrocities on any side are, is wrong because of their culture, or is wrong because, or evil because of, who their ancestors are or where their ancestors used to live. I mean, that's none of that's really relevant to the issue. When, if you're talking about behavior and you're talking about regimes, I would think that Americans especially will understand that these days. If we were to go to another country, we have a lot of splaining to do, right? When,
Oh gosh, yes.
so, we need to, we can easily separate ourselves from our own leadership here.
Hmm.
You would think that it would be, we'd be sympathetic. But I think the squabble that you're highlighting here, it really just shows that it's not about that. It's not about that, what they say it is. It's not about religion being oppressed. It's about authoritarianism. It's about, here's the official line. You toe that official line or you're out of here.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Teo.
just follow orders or you're doomed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add more about the anti-Semitism thing, which obviously is not right at all. I could consider myself, but once again, very slightly, because I haven't done much about this, but I think I could consider myself anti-Zionism, because I don't think that Israel deserves a kingdom just because they are the chosen people from God. I'm totally against that idea, and I have friends who are Israeli and defend that place, and I tell them, okay, I just drew the line here. Uh, but it's not the same to try to attack everybody who is born in that area or who are Israeli just because of what the government is doing.
Right.
Or to, for example, and I'm going to bring another example because, guys, I already mentioned Argentina, and I will go the next step. There is a company called Mekorot. Mekorot is a water supplying company. They started cutting down water from Palestinians, so they had to leave their houses or die out of thirst.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
now Mekorot owns, I think, like 60% of water in Argentina. So it's a problem, people, when there is a group of people who believe that they own the planet just because there is a god telling them that they deserve all of this, and then you have people like Milei telling them, "Yeah, sure, come here, take everything because thanks to you, the USA is going to give us support." Then is when you have serious issues that come from religious ideas, and we cannot just turn ourselves the other way and say no, because if you criticize them, you're being anti-Semite. No, it's not anti-Semitism. Once again, that would be discriminating people just because of their last name, for example, or their culture. We are
Right.
just talking about the harm made by the government, and yeah, that can be, once again, maybe it's anti-Zionism, maybe it has another name. We could discuss that later. But the thing is, we are not attacking people. We're attacking the evil, which I'm sure we all agree we can objectively say they are evil actions of an evil government.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. I'm never in favor of creating anything because of religious ideology. Like, it's what you said specifically about creating an entire country just because God said is not okay. at
Right.
all,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know. And as far as like, if somebody asked me, well, what you had done, I said, well, I was not born in 1948, nor was I around in 1948 when
Right.
this whole
Yeah.
thing has happened in the first place. So I can't really say what I would have done. But what I do know for now is I know what's happening in that region, and I know that the people who are being displaced, and they're losing, they have lost their homes, they have lost their livelihoods, they have lost lives, countless, countless lives, babies,
Hmm.
older people, women, men, the whole lot, families gone. You know, that should not sit well with any of us,
Right.
especially those who actually call ourselves humanist. And here's the thing, you don't have to be secular to be humanist. You can be a Christian and be humanist. You can be a Muslim and be humanist. You can be a Jewish person and be humanist. Humanism is not lost on religious ideology or lack thereof. It's just to say that I'm pro-human, and I don't think that we should be upending lives and cutting off water and cutting off gas and cutting off
Hmm.
supplies and and saying that we're and violating ceasefires like that. That should not be a thing
Right.
ever, because like I don't necessarily think that that's something that we would condone if the United States does it, because they have, and that's not something that we should condone anywhere in the world.
Well, you mentioned something earlier, Cynthia, about the ICC charges, and I mean
Yeah.
the International Criminal Court, and that's the way to address this. That's the way to deal with it. If there's atrocities happening,
Mhm.
then we can, as a community, that's what that is. It's a community of opinions coming together to have this international commission, and there's a process. There's a, charges are filed, evidence is gathered, cases are made, and and juries, or I'm not entirely sure how the ICC operates. So I don't know if they do a jury situation, or how that pans out, but there is in fact a process there. And so participating in the community means contributing to the community goals, contributing to the community agreed upon responsibilities. We all kind of share this planet, and so we need to all work together to solve these global issues, these issues that are between more than just individuals, that are between entire cultures. There has to be ways of addressing that, and I think the anti-Semitism and racism of any form is really not the way to go. Obviously, I mean, we've seen in the past that it can lead to horrific outcomes. But
Mhm.
in addition to that, it's a destructive approach. It's a more destructive solution to a destructive problem.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Teo?
I think I agree with you guys. You have said everything I could have said about this issue. My biggest, I mean, my biggest fear is just keeping silent and not doing anything, or just ignore the awful situation that is happening over there. And I was going to mention this in the next segment, but I can do it now.
Hmm.
People, if you ever wonder what you would have done during the Nazi issue back then, you can do it now if you are living in the USA, because that is exactly what you're living over there. And yeah, maybe you're not living right now in the Middle East, so you cannot do much over there, but there are still ways to, if you cannot help, at least try to find good information about the places, because there is a lot of misinformation. They
Yeah.
decided to cut down the internet over there as well, so people couldn't talk about what is happening over there. So at least if you cannot really help, try to keep yourself informed about what is happening over there. And we will talk later about ICE and Trump's personal Gestapo in the next segment. So
Yes, we will talk about the Gestapo in the next segment. Yes, we will. Yeah, I think that, like, just like for me, just to wrap up this particular segment, I personally would love to see the Commission for Religious Liberty uh, disbanded,
Right.
because it is it is a commission, it is a pet project and commission that is based on the wet dream of the Heritage Foundation that was placed in Project 2025.
Yep.
And it's only to push this whole notion concerning the United States being a Christian nation, which it is not. And as far as, speaking out, people who may be dissenters of what Israel is happening to do right now, and how we're also aiding and abetting in what they're doing right now. There's also an additional wet dream about the existence of Israel. And if we can look at people like Pat Robertson, may he rest in hell, who kept on saying that Israel is the key factor in the coming of Jesus back to the world in order for the rapture to happen. And here's the thing, they've been predicting this Jesus fellow to do that for centuries, and that motherfucker ain't back yet. So that's all I have to say about that. Final thoughts, Scott and Teo, before we move on to the next segment.
If somebody comes to you talking about religious liberty, that should be a red flag. To me, that's a red flag. Real religious liberty is an inclusive process, not an exclusive process. And I think the behavior of this committee, I think they're showing their stripes right there. I mean, I think they're showing their attitude going into it. It's not about liberty. Clearly, it's not about liberty because they're excluding people that disagree with them. Yeah. They're taking people that had previously been admitted to be part of the project, and then, and now they're getting cast out. And so be suspicious of that.
And please don't forget your history. It's there for a reason. Yes. All this that you're seeing now, it happened already in the past. There are many movies about it. You can read about them in history. Pay attention. And yes, history is repeating. So you can become prophets and know what is coming if you just go and watch Nazi documentaries. So do that, people.
Hey, I'm a fan of documentaries, especially about World War II and also what happened with the Nazi regime. It's almost like, things are repeating themselves. What did the Bible say, y'all? No new thing under the sun.
Right.
Okay. All right. Moving on, guys. We're going to go ahead.
I remember it.
With the hot shot at the end.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, the whole time.
With frosting.
Yeah, a little frosting, and we got a little glossolia with the cherry on top. That's all good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to part 2 or segment 2 of our discussion for this evening. This is an article entitled DHS Says Immigration Agents Appear to Have Lied About Shooting in Minnesota. No shit, Sherlock. This is from NPR. Just go ahead a little synopsis of this one. So after a controversial shooting in Minneapolis, federal immigration officials now say agents may have given false accounts under oath. Shocking, raising serious questions about transparency, accountability, and the reliability of official narratives. Federal investigators say 2 immigration officers may have given false sworn statements about the events leading up to a January shooting in Minneapolis. Video evidence reportedly contradicts their accounts, prompting the Justice Department to drop charges against the people they accused and launch a criminal probe into the officers themselves. What? The case has intensified scrutiny of aggressive federal immigration operations in Minnesota and raised broader concerns about accountability, transparency, and the reliability of law enforcement narratives in high-stakes encounters. Scott, I'm going to come to you again first because this is your state. This is your area. This is where you're on the ground, like literally.
Minnesota strong today. Minnesota strong.
Minnesota. Yeah, I want to say it like you guys say, Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah. Yes. I never knew that I said it that way until it must have been sometime in the 90s when some friends said, you have a really thick Minnesota accent. And ever since then, I can't stop hearing it. So that's okay. I welcome it. I am proudly Minnesotan.
Yes, as you should be.
Right. But I think, as you implied in your little intro, no shit, right? This is no surprise to anyone. False narratives is the kind of the standard operating procedure of this Department of Justice. And Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not a surprise at all that that we're finding out that these things were misrepresented. To put it nicely. Um, what surprised me though is when you said the Justice Department is launching a criminal probe into the officers themselves.
Yeah, according to the article.
You'll pardon me if I don't hold my breath on that one. I don't know. I mean, when when we had some of the murders that happened more recently, we had the DHS took a page out of the Catholic handbook, right? They were shuffling people around. They were moving them. Oh, you're causing trouble there? Well, we'll just move you over here. We're not going to tell anybody where you're going. We're not going to tell anybody what happened. We're not going to face accountability for what happened. We're just going to try to make the problem go away. And that's what I think. To be honest, it's kind of depressing to have to say this, but it's all just fluff. It's fluff and lip service to keep the fan base happy. And that's really what I see happening here. And it's tough to see it in another way, but it's an undermining of some of the most important aspects of society. Many of the reasons that we form a society is for mutual self-interest and for mutual self-protection. And this is this is where it's undermining trust in the government. It's undermining trust in what the government says to us. It's undermining trust in each other in many ways. Family members against family members, former friends against former friends. It's a extremely divisive approach. And for me, the most heartbreaking aspect of this is that they just don't even care. They just don't even care about all those negative aspects. They don't care that people are dying because of this. And that's very frustrating when people that you previously looked up to are now supporting this kind of thing. And it's, I don't know, it's not a good thing.
I totally agree. And I really don't, anytime that the DOJ said that they're investigating anything, I
Right. Yeah. It's just,
lose.
okay. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, to me, I like you said, it's lip service.
Yeah.
Teo, what you got?
Oh, a lot. This is one of those topics that are very hard to talk about.
Mhm.
5 years ago when I started my activism, one of my dreams was to be able to travel to the USA, meet you all guys. Now that's something that I couldn't do even if I got paid. It's quite sad to see that in a couple of years it was shown how much the USA really hate us Latinos just because whatever. And now seeing people support ICE, yeah, that shows you what side of the history they are in. And it started as, I mean, we have this guy. He got shot. He got shot on the leg during this problem. This was January 14th, only 7 days after they murdered Renee Nicole Good, which, hey, she was an American citizen, so it's kind of amazing for me in the awful way how they didn't just started killing random Latinos and say no, they were criminals and they were here under false pretenses, and they started murdering American citizens right away, which kind of the Nazi regime took their their sweet time before doing that. Trump skipped a lot of those steps and started murdering their people right away. Then January 24, it was Alexi Pretty, who was just a nurse who was trying to protect people and he got murdered. Then in September 12, 2025, this was last year, one of the first victims was Gonzalo Silverios. No, Silverio Gonzalez. Sorry, I read the name wrong. And he was just murdered after a traffic stop because he got scared of them and they just murdered him. And they keep doing this. And the amazing thing is that people in the USA are so brainwashed that you see people actually defending those criminals. They see their own officers murdering the American citizens, and they try to defend that. They try to say, oh, why didn't they just do what they were told to do?
Right.
Actually, most of them were trying to do what they were told. And I don't know, it's it's quite sad. The USA used to be one of the greatest countries in the world if you listen to your musicals, and now it's one of the shittiest countries that I can imagine. And there are people defending that, defending the horrors happening out there, and that's heartbreaking for me.
Right.
You know, guys, I recently did a video up on the channel right now if you guys want to check it out, where I talked about how America is not new. This is not new. I understand that these are different times as far as like the actions and the unprecedented. And I believe that the only reason why it's unprecedented is because we are basically live streaming fascism in real time. We have technology that actually live streams this stuff in real time so that you can get it right away in your face. You don't
Right.
have to wait to see the back in the day, the 4 news channels put it on your 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock news. No, no, no. You don't have to wait any longer.
Right.
People
Yeah.
people are like streaming. The first thing that people are doing when they see ICE officers is they're pulling out their phones and they're pulling out their whistles. They are using their phones in order for them to capture whatever type of action that they're going to be doing, because we already know it's going to be something illegal. And they are also using their whistles in order for them to blow that ICE is here, and for any person that could be a target for ICE, which is anybody, get out the way.
Right.
So I want to preface something really quickly about white supremacy. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. White supremacy hurts everybody, including white people. And Alex Pretty and Renee Good are perfect examples of that. People in my group, African Americans, were saying that, not everybody, but you had a few stupid ones, most of the Black MAGA people, who were saying that ICE is not going to come after Black people. Well, then you explain to me why that young man in Los Angeles, a Black man who was just celebrating the new year, got shot by an off-duty ICE officer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny the facts that are right there in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of like you and the lover coming to you after you see them cheating with their dick all the way out, talking about who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes. This is the type of shit that we're dealing with right now. Okay, and here's the thing, also too, Renee Good and her wife they just dropped their children off at school. They were about to leave the scene, and that's when they waved a couple of cars in front. I know that Renee Good's wife was filming ICE, as she should have. Mm-hmm. And then, she said a few antagonistic words to them, but antagonistic words is not grounds for murder.
We should still have freedom of speech, I think.
That is also supposedly something that is covered in the Constitution in the First Amendment.
Yeah, it's like right there, number 1.
Yeah,
first on the list.
First on the list, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. I mean, come on, fuck. So here's the thing: like, anytime that you have people who are at a top level, who are very much so committed to white supremacist rhetoric, white supremacist behavior, and white supremacist action, any persons that would actually seem to disrupt that,
right,
you're a target.
Yep.
And that's why when I saw what happened to Renee Good, and then when I saw what happened to Alex Pretty, and I was already saddened what happened to Keith Porter, I knew that this is how the spillage happens with the actions of white supremacy or fascism, authoritarianism. This is what happens. Because here's the thing: we know that in Nazi Germany, even though that they may have held off on fucking over everybody else during that time period, the Nazis basically started their campaign in the 30s, and then all of a sudden, like in the 40s, that's when they want to invade every place that's in Europe because they felt that they were supreme,
Right.
and whether if you were Jewish or not, you could get it. But they still said, okay, you are not going to go with us, so you are an enemy. Even though we may share the same skin color, we may even have the same background, we may even share some ancestry. But
Mhm.
regardless of that, you are against our agenda. Therefore, you must be annexed. It's the same thing that happened. If you all, I don't know if Scott, if you ever seen the movie Mississippi Burning, I tell, and I'm not pretty
Mississippi
sure.
Burn. Is that like Samuel L. Jackson?
It was a movie that was talking about the killings of Andrew Goodman, James Carney, and Andrew Schwerner. Um,
Oh, right. Yeah.
that was I think I'm probably getting the names wrong. Matter of fact, I want to say the names correctly because I just did a video about this, and how dare I not know their names off of the top of my head. But yeah, it was James Chaney. He was black.
Mhm.
Andrew Goodman was a white student from New York, and Michael Schwerner was also a white core field worker, and he was also from New York City. So these two white men came down from the north, specifically to Mississippi, to work with Carney in order to help register black voters. But whiteness did not protect them.
Right.
If anything, it was this. It just really this like really is telling how they captured these men, arrested these men, knowing that they really didn't have like a case, because like it's not a crime to help people register people to vote, but
Mhm.
it is a problem if you are going to again disrupt our agenda. So just because even though there was two white men and one black man, all of them were unalived, every last one of them. And that's only because at the time it is keep black people from voting. And white people, guess what? If you happen to disrupt what we're trying to do, you can get it too.
Yep.
So even though that we know that the primary agenda of ICE is to round up brown people, if you have like a name that sounds like that it's Spanish descent, if you are speaking with an accent, if you are conversing in Spanish, whether if you are a citizen, a resident, temporary protective status, they don't care. They're just rounding you up because the agenda is to get you out, right?
Right.
But any persons that happen to seem to be a disruptive force in order for that agenda to happen, yeah, you gone.
Right. Yeah. Because it's not that being white makes you supreme. It's that they're supporting this systemic approach to, or this systemic attitude of whiteness is supremacy.
Yeah.
And if even if you are white, if you're going against that idea, then you're enemy, then you're other, right? Then
Right.
you're othered, and then you're fair game.
Yeah, it's the same
And
thing that happened with Nazism.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Teo, go ahead.
yeah, one little thing for those who are part of the others who think that just because they are going to support the regime, they're going to be safe. Most of the Latinos for Trump already learned the hard way that nope, they are just going to become more victims. I have seen a
Mm,
lot of South Americans wearing MAGA hats because they are so afraid of, they just ate all the American propaganda and they believe that they are the USA and they believe that they are white despite, being quite brown, if you ask me.
Hmm.
Actually, we have a term for them. Because dark skinned people, we call them morenos. So
yes.
they are morenazzi. So
I'm gonna
yeah,
start using that. I'm gonna start
Mm.
using that.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, I appreciate
yeah.
that. Thanks. Yeah.
And it's quite interesting because you look at ICE and you see a lot of Mexicans or Latin Americans in there working for them. And those are going to be the most dangerous ones.
Mm.
And I think we will mention that in your next segment as well, Cynthia, because that we observed that during, with Afro-American police officers who were much more harsher against African-American people. The same with ICE, because when you are part of the group that it's being discriminated, you try to prove that you are part of the quotation mark good ones, of the ones that are worth keeping, and you're always at disadvantage. And yeah, guys, if you
If
are
you
Latino
know the
and you're
secret
wearing a MAGA
handshake,
hat, you are nothing but Jewish Nazis. That's the
You
truth.
that
Sorry,
you
Scott.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in during slavery time, there was this term called meritorious manumission, and that was when other slaves would give up slaves who were plotting or either ran away, or if they caught other slaves trying to um plan a riot, or insurrection or whatever against the owners, and basically that they would go and they would find the plantation owner and or the overseer, and they would basically tell on their fellow folks, even though that you guys are in the same position, but they felt that if they could curry favor from their white overlords,
right?
that they were
Right.
able to get more to get better treatment, maybe nicer clothing, maybe a better meal, like sometimes, like a lot of times slaves ate the leftovers. Sometimes they would have to make their own food. There's a story about soul food where you had like the leftover parts of like the pig, or cow or whatever, in order for you to make it into some type of something that's palatable. That's where we get like a lot of things, like greens, and picking off the leaves and actually, like, seasoning it up so that you can like eat them properly, or
Right.
even like the innards of like pigs. I mean, because like what the master and everybody else, that they eat the meat, the slaves, they got the intestines,
Right.
so
Even the
I'm
dogs got hush puppies.
yeah, see there you go. And or like corn flour in order for them to make johnny cakes, things of that
Right.
nature, like all these so if they were able to curry favor from the overlord, maybe they work in the house, maybe they get the nicer clothing, maybe they can get like a hot butter biscuit to eat.
Right.
And unfortunately, that mentality has traversed down the line today. And I would tell any person who happens to be part of another group that proximity to whiteness is never success. I'll leave it
Definitely.
at that.
What was that term again? You said manumission or something?
Meritorious manumission.
Meritorious.
Look, everybody Googling now.
That's- All right.
Yes. Got another wrinkle in your brain. There you go.
I did. All right.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit smarter than I was 5 minutes ago.
There, I mean, and even to bring it up, Teo, to your point, the ice agents that killed Alex Pretty, they were Latino.
Yep. No surprise there, sadly.
I wanted to talk about that more in depth, but I don't think that I am very much so equipped to talk about that on their own. So I'll be in touch. Regardless, anybody else has any more thoughts about this particular article?
It's kind of ironic that Teo was talking about the what was the term? Moray Nazis.
Yep.
Moray Nazis.
You got it right.
And so now we've been seeing lately, and I haven't looked into this, and so I'm just putting this out there as a rumor I've heard, that the people that have signed up to be ICE agents are not getting their pay bonuses like they were supposed to have been. And so now they're starting to complain. And so I think that the frazzled edges are starting to show. We can see things starting to come apart in some ways. I don't know. Well, I'd be curious to see if that's having any kind of effect on the attitude within the organization.
Probably no, because as Cynthia explained, they just want to be closer to the boss and
That's
get
true.
special protection.
That's true. But after getting smacked by the boss a few times, how many times you got to get hit before you realize maybe that's not going to work?
Hey, a hit dog will holler, won't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting that you gave these people like hundreds of billions of dollars, And instead of and the sign-on bonuses that they were supposed to give to these people, they stretched them thin. Even in like the House Oversight Committee, like a few weeks ago, um, Chrissy Nome was asked about what are you going to do? Like you're about to run out of money and you're just spending money like crazy, and you're not spending it on things that have been appropriated for your department.
Right.
And matter of fact, there's been some reporting that they are in the process of, basically building like over 20, like about 23 more like detention centers, ICE facility detention centers. And they also are investing in more like surveillance
Right.
when it comes to spying. A lot of this stuff that they're getting from Palantir. Look up
Right.
Peter Thiel, that dickhead.
Yeah.
And so we can see where this money is going, because it's wildly expensive, but it's over the top, and all of this is at the behest of Stephen Miller, because this is his wet dream to
Right.
get rid of immigrants and to make to make America more white again.
Yeah. What's the goal? 100 million, eliminate 100 million out of the population
Yeah.
through through lack of healthcare and through ICE activity.
Yeah, which is, oh God, that's a whole nother show about talking about how, in of itself, not doing a universal healthcare program is racist in
Right.
of itself.
Yeah.
I'm going to tackle that on a later show.
Okay. All
But
right.
Tay, I want to give you our final thoughts before we happen to move on to our last segment.
Well, I think that this is a topic that is hurting the three of us. Like, I mean, we are looking at evil in the face, being surprised at how people are not only allowing this to happen, but there have been people celebrating these things or trying to defend such awful things. And it's really hard to keep faith in humanity after this.
Yeah.
We are doomed if we don't change this. It's sad, but we are doomed. I cannot be optimistic about anything that is happening right now.
Yeah. There's that. Yeah. I just think of my days when I was producing on the other show that we were all a part of, on the nonprofits. And how, like, sometimes, like, going through like some of the articles, I'm like, damn, this is really depressing. Like, I'm leaning towards the depressing shit right now. But these are the times that we're living in, and one of the things that I really feel that is very important for everybody is to be aware.
Yeah.
And if we've had to talk about things that are unpleasant, like ICE, and like all the different things that are happening government wise when it comes to funding them, and basically turn a blind eye to their misbehaviors, it's important that we do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important that we talk about these things. I know it's difficult to think about and to read about and to talk about, but we need to process this. We need to figure out what this says about our society, and what it's going to say about what tomorrow's going to bring. I mean, Teo was just saying he thinks we're screwed, and I think things are definitely going to get worse before they get better.
Mhm.
And on the off chance that that there is a regime change at some point, how long is it going to be before we can recover? I mean, it's going to be, just that alone,
Yeah.
the dollar amount and the amount of, human power that's going to take to right the ship
Yeah.
is immense, setting aside the human damage, setting aside the human suffering and death. And and a lot of it is happening outside of the United States too. The United States has been cutting US aid to needy
other
countries, to
countries.
countries
Yeah.
that have been relying on us. And
Yeah.
these are the same people that say you can't abort a pregnancy because it's going to hurt the baby, right?
Yeah.
You're aborting countries that are relying on the United States to keep their people fed and to keep, to be safe. And it's really, I don't know. We can talk about this all night. I'm just going to shut up. It's sad and frustrating and heartbreaking and difficult to difficult to exist within.
Just
Yeah.
to give a silver lining, I would like to quote the wisest woman I've met, my mother. She used to say that ignorance is cruel. And that's a phrase that always stuck with me because most of people who are actually supporting these hideous things, they are ignorant. They don't
Yeah.
understand what's happening. They don't get what is going on. They don't see what really are the motivations behind things. So when we have to speak about this and we break a little bit in the inside, talking about all the awful things that are happening, at least we are making people aware of the situations, and hey, it's a way of helping. And the more you know, the less you are going to be supporting tyrannical regimes. So yeah, we may be a little bit broken every time we're making one of these episodes, but we are doing whatever we can to help, and people need to know, and people need to understand, and people need to learn, and need to
Yeah.
stop, avoiding the information. It's painful, but someone has to do it.
Right.
Someone has to do it, and that's why we're here at the Roots Matter.
Woohoo.
Great segue to our final article that we're going to be speaking about this evening, entitled 16 Queer Black Trailblazers Who Made History. I picked this specifically because not only we are in Black History Month, and I definitely want to make sure that I'm highlighting things that happen to do with trailblazers and people who happen to add it to the mosaic that is America that we know today. Also very much so, very passionate and very much so an ally to the LGBTQI plus community. Matter of fact, my um, um, entrance into social work was working specifically with LGBTQ people. So this hits to my heart, I guess. So I'm going to give you a bit of a synopsis of this one. So this piece actually highlights a range of Black LGBTQ pioneers across activism, politics, arts, and culture whose contributions shaped civil rights movements and expanded representation. It emphasizes how many of these figures challenge both racism and homophobia simultaneously, often without recognition in mainstream historical narratives. By spotlighting their stories, the article reframes Black history and LGBTQ history as deeply intertwined struggles for dignity, visibility, and social transformation. So let's get thoughts. Teo, coming to you. What say you, my friend?
Oh well, I know that this is one of your favorite topics. I think the first time we were doing a show together, it was about this topic. It was all new for me, and
Mhm.
I will not have much to say about this because this is more about your country and your people. My people was the one being murdered by ICE in the previous one,
Ay.
but
Oof.
when I was checking this, it was quite interesting for me seeing how a lot of these people were, as you said, intertwined with the LGBT plus. Come on, I'm forgetting I forgot in English and Spanish what I was going to say. Activism, their
Yeah.
activism and what they were doing. Um, if I start mentioning all of them, I'm going to mention the whole thing. But many of them were like the first LGBTQ major. That's Lori Lightfoot in
Mhm.
1960, born in 1962, and congratulations at them for doing all of this, for being pioneers in both being and gosh, I was joking at the beginning of the show that, oh yeah, I'm a minority amongst minority because I'm Latino and I'm a cartoon, but these people, they were black and LGBT openly, so
Yes.
they were pioneers and they were true fighters. So it's something to be proud of if you're part of the either community. So it's
Mhm.
something to celebrate, and I'm really happy that we have something this positive to to be our last topic at least.
Yeah, I did that on
Right.
purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Didn't want to leave everybody depressed. Scott, what were your thoughts?
Well, I think one of the most meaningful things that I've ever come to believe about myself or come to realize about myself was, and this is this is the result of several different experiences over the course of my life, and that is that I really don't know much about the human experience in the world. I have a very insulated existence here. I grew up around almost entirely people that were like me. And so when I was in grade school, I was going to a neighborhood grade school, and then my parents wanted me to go to a different school, and so I moved to I switched to a magnet school in St. Paul, and I was drawing students in from all over the city, and so it was much more diverse in many ways than my previous school. And I just remember thinking about all of these people's lives is just so different than my life, and it it made me realize that I really should know more about this. I really want to know more. And then later on, as I was getting older, after I graduated from college, I went in the Peace Corps, and I was stationed in West Africa. And I remember when my first day there, leaving the airport, just looking around, and again, I was hit with that feeling about how ignorant am I? How ignorant am I? And reading this article that you shared with us for this week, it really made me feel that way again. It was like there's such a wide, diverse human experience, and so much of it I'm just not privy to. And so thank you, Cynthia, for bringing that up. I think it was perfect um for your show, and for this month, and for people that I think learning more about other people really helps to encourage compassion and sympathy, and at least you can recognize humanity in other people that you might not recognize otherwise. And so when I read something like this, I try to go into it with okay, just shut up and listen, shut up and listen. And it's ironic that I'm saying this at the end of like a 3-minute screed here that I've been saying, but I'll just say one more thing. And that was one of the people that was highlighted there, Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha P. Johnson, who would
Yes.
cheekily tell the people the P stood for pay it no mind, pay it no mind. And that just really stuck in my head. Pay it no mind. Not only was Marsha, um, she was, and this was a time when not only is it brave because you're in a minority community, you're in a minority community within a minority community during a time when it is extremely dangerous to be in a minority community. And so the bravery of these people is just very impactful to think of. And so when Marsha said, pay it no mind, she was saying, on one hand, it was kind of, and this is me just trying to interpret it, but on one hand, it seemed kind of flippant, like, oh, I'm just another person. I'm just me being me. Don't worry about it. Don't worry so much about what's different about me, or what, what I'm like. It's no, pay it no mind. And then on the other side, um, you really couldn't pay it no mind because harsh shit was happening during that time. And Marsha, every time coming out saying something like that, was putting her life on the line, her livelihood on the line. And it and so it it really hits me hard. And so whenever I have opportunities like this to learn about other people's experiences, I just jump all over it, because it really just helps me to understand humanity as a whole, and to be more sympathetic and to be more compassionate. And contrary to what some people say, I don't think compassion is a weakness. I think compassion is what separates, us from the animals, really. And it's that kind of thing that allows us to do everything we can. And now I'm going to listen to my own advice, and I'm going to shut up and listen.
Well, we are animals, and all animals in some shape, way, or form actually do. We can actually point to other species on the planet that actually show compassion to one another.
Yes, yes, it's a
Yeah, so
spectrum. It's
yes,
not
it's a
not a
spectrum. It's a
yes.
spectrum. It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Cool thing about Marsha, which I believe has quickly, ever since that I learned about her, she has been quickly a person that has become one of my favorite Black activists in history. Um, she is the one that ignited the Stonewall riots. She is when because like a lot of times like people the way that the Stonewall was like was told was that it was mostly white queer people who just like stood up against the police that tried to raid their place, but there were Black queer people there too, and Marsha was one of the ones that stood up first against the police that came in at that particular time in Stonewall, tried to raid the place, tried to arrest people, this and that third. And she's the one who ignited and basically said, no, not on my watch. We're
Right.
fighting back. So, and she's the one who, she basically started the whole, stand up, stand your ground. I'm not moving. You can't make me.
Right.
And that empowered people that were around her to also do that as well. Because the thing about all of this is that this is about being your authentic self. I mean, I think about like a lot of the people that are mentioned in this article, like Bayard Rustin, like he is a figure that's not talked about a lot. Gay man in the 50s and 60s, was one of the organizers of the March on Washington. Him and A. Philip Randolph, who was an atheist. And no one really talked about them as of at that particular time because of the stigma that was behind an atheist and a gay man actually being part of like historical moments in history. And then there's Lorraine Hansberry also, who wrote A Raisin in the Sun, who had that very powerful scene when the daughter challenged her mother about God belief. Like this is stuff that is not necessarily like talked about in Black households. Like it's at least not out front, because we still have a very small population of Black people who even say that they're atheists in the first place.
Right.
Like we are the most religious group in America, like the most. And I mean, right next to Teo El Ateo, like y'all like right, it's like we like 79%, and then like Latinos are like 78%. So I mean, like, so this is like going hand in hand.
You mean that's percentage religious?
That's yeah.
Okay.
That claims religious, specifically Christian.
Right.
So sad.
Yeah, specifically Christian, right? So, nuns are, about like 29-28%. And then you have like Muslims are about like 2 to 3%. And then you have people like me that's like 0.5%. Like 0.5% of Black people actually say that they are atheists.
Right. Yes. You are the cream of the crop there, right. Cynthia.
We just sitting here in the corner like, hey, we still here, But like but like this is like from like like a person who was like not only was she irreligious, but she also was living her truth by being a woman who had a long time partnership with another woman. So and I mean Barbara Jordan, like one of the first Black women Congress people who fought for civil rights, especially in those hallowed halls of Congress. I mean, like, shit, fucking James Baldwin. I mean, like, oh my God, he is one of my favorite writers everywhere. I mean, like, when he debated William F. Buckley, and everybody basically just said, damn, William F. Buckley was this white conservative writer who was educated at the best halls, born with a silver spoon in his mouth,
right,
debating this Black man from Harlem who got his education by reading everything in the Harlem Library. He was seriously what do they call them? Autodidactic.
Autodidactic. Yes.
That was
Self-taught.
James. Yes, that was James Baldwin. Some of the most compelling writing in American authors ever. You know, a gay man also called himself. He called himself non-religious. He never said
Mhm.
that he was an atheist, but I mean, he's the one who I have over my Facebook page that says that, you know, if God can't do any of these things to make us more loving, more kind, more freer, etc., then we must get rid of him.
Right.
You know, one of the best, you know, quotes ever in life. I mean, like, so yeah, I'm proud of these people. I'm proud that they're part of my culture. I embrace the notion of like these people who actually, you know, basically paved the way for not only civil rights, but you know, rights for LGBTQIA plus people as well. And they did it even though the notion of being queer, especially in the Black community, is extremely stigmatized, and a
Mhm.
lot of that has to do with religion.
Hmm. And do you think there's a difference in the Black community today as there was back then?
I think that acceptance rates of being queer is a little bit more open,
Okay.
but the stigma is still very much so present.
Right.
And it definitely shows that there's still a lot of work to do in order to say that, hey, being, you know, I still have these arguments with, you know, other people who I love about, you know, queer people, when I was told that, well, I think it's a biological and imbalance. And I'm like, no, being queer is natural.
Yeah, that's making an assumption about what the balance is supposed to be.
Exactly,
Quote
especially,
unquote supposed to be.
yeah, and especially, well, I was told this, and then I'm like, okay, so where's your data behind to back that?
Right.
Oh, it's just a feeling. I was like, okay,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
you,
No,
yeah,
Just think about it. Think about
yeah,
it.
yeah, facts over feelings, homie.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like I mean, like I said, if you don't have empirical data to back up your claim, then you can go ahead and shut the fuck up. Is what I'm
Mhm.
basically saying. Like, you know, no, this is natural. I know that Teo, you loved. We have talked on previous videos before about, you know, homosexuality showing up in other species as well.
hmm it's
Yeah.
the most common thing, especially amongst creatures that live in groups, because like that, if one or two parents die, you know, a gay couple usually adopts the baby, so the species
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a great survival strategy.
Yeah. So it's natural. So shut
Mhm.
up and love these people. Damn it.
It's natural and healthy.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is, and it should be, and 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 it should be embraced and celebrated. And I mean, and like, and listen, you don't lose any cisgender heterosexuality just because you support queer people. You don't. I mean, it's the most wonderfully human thing to do.
In my case,
Yes.
I just feel boring because, you know, I'm just boring straight white. Well, not even white, but cis straight guy. Like,
At least we're all atheists here, right? And I'm
Oh.
saying that desperately wanting to grasp onto something as the cis het white man panel.
Scott is representing for all cisgender heterosexual white men on this panel right now. You know,
How about I'll just represent the math community? How about that?
it's good because I sure can't do it.
you know what? Despite being Latino, I do look white, so I can kind of represent that spectrum if you want to. I can
You know,
start complaining about why there is no white straight cis the heterosexual month, for example, and present a white flag like as if I was surrender.
Mm.
right. Well, yeah, if you present a white flag, you would definitely just be surrendering.
Mm.
Because yeah, the straight flag is so boring.
It really is. I mean, like yeah, the other flags, you know, are so colorful and they're pretty pretty, and I
Wait,
like
there's a
them.
straight flag?
Yeah, Google
Yeah.
it while I say what I'm going to say now because it's boring as hell. And talking
Oh.
about not being boring, when I was checking the list, my favorite, and this is just because of the adjectives used here,
Mhm.
Andrew Lord or Lordy. Is it Lord or Lordy?
Andrew Lord.
Lord. Lord
Yeah, Lord.
self-described as Black lesbian feminist mother, poet, and warrior. She's the writer of The Black Unicorn, and I love the title, Black lesbian feminist mother, poet, warrior. I wish someday it can be remembered something like that. But
I love that. I love that. I love that. I mean, I don't know. Those are just my people. I don't know. I just like I said, like when I just fell in love with this article when I saw it, and I just was like, this is I have heard so many things that was said against people who happen to be in the LGBTQIA plus community growing up, and also I have been in church where being LGBTQ was demonized, and it was said that this was a sin, and that God can heal you and save you from your homosexuality or your lesbianism, and then when you actually start to take a deeper look at the Bible in of itself, I mean, like, I just learned that the term homosexual did not show up in the Bible until 1946. Did you know that?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I
No.
didn't know that either.
Right?
I just found out this week.
Wait, how did it get into the Bible in 1946?
Different show. I just you listen. There's this young lady that I actually follow on TikTok. I forgot her name. I think her name is Maud something. I'm gonna have to try to find out specifically what her name is. But she does like Bible lessons on TikTok and also Facebook and YouTube. And she was sent a video about this other lady who was asking, hey, did you know that the term homosexual did not show up into the Bible until 1946? And then Mom was like, yes, that is exactly right. It has not shown up until that particular time period, because there was really no word for it per se that could translate properly, until, further down the line. I mean, like, you would just think about the inceptions of homosexual, like that term in of itself, and how it went through different, changes over time, as like
Actually,
language grew and things of that nature. Yeah, go ahead, Teo.
No, it gets even worse because the Bible never refers to homosexuality. It was something natural. Remember that in Matthew, Jesus was actually with a naked guy when he gets arrested. The term that you are looking at is arsenokoitai. That is in Greek, and it means slave male. Basically, they are not against men with men, but men with a sex slave. Yeah, suddenly at that time, if you had a female sex slave, it's okay because you know Bible and all of that. But if you had a man that you were using as your sex slave, that is an abomination to the Lord. So the word
right.
I never can pronounce it. Arsenokoitai, that is what it means, sex male slave. So basically, that's what they are going against.
And according to the lesson that she was teaching, just to piggyback on what you said, Mateo, it was considered an abomination because a man is not supposed to take a submissive role during the act of sex.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it has nothing to do with the sex, or at least not directly. It's about these pushing another man into submitting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because only wives are supposed to submit. Women are supposed to submit. Daughters are supposed to submit. Men are not. That's the issue. So yeah. So in other words, fuck all that.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Fuck all that. Love who you want to love. Fuck all of that. Love who you want to love. Be who you want to be with. Be you. And matter of fact, I'm going to end on this route before we go ahead and wrap up for the evening. I truly believe that the people who happen to be in the regime right now that's causing a lot of this particular chaos, some of the reasons why they're doing it is because they cannot be their authentic selves.
Agreed.
I believe it.
100%.
I'm talking to you, Speaker of the House. Anyway, so guys,
I just have one more thing to say. One more thing real quick.
Yes.
I just Googled the straight pride flag, and it is exactly as exciting as you would expect it to be.
Told ya. Boring flag. That's why I have the theosexual flag. One flag for people who are in love with me. It has been used by one person so far. That person hates me now.
Yeah, Tail,
We
send
had
that
a good
flag to
run.
me. It's Tail, send that to me because I'm in love with you too. So there you go. How about that?
I will
Aren't we
send you the
all?
flag.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh goodness, guys, thank you all so much. This is a great conversation. I really enjoyed having both of you on with me. Thank you so much for just like sharing and indulging me in going into these different topics, and even probably needing a little Valium after you are done with this particular stream to go ahead and get your mood up again. I totally respect that as well. um
My plans include an activity that I call soak and toke.
Okay, you know what? That is fair. That
Yep.
is fair.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what? Mine is going to be wine and dine. How about that?
All right. Yeah,
Mm,
you do
mm.
you, right?
Yes, yes, yes. What about you, Teo? What's going to be your self-care routine after the stream?
I can't. I have my own version of God Awful Movies. It's called PAM, Películas Aleluya y Magufas, and we're going to be talking about a movie that talks about how a woman who has been hit by her husband over and over again, and he is responsible for the death of his child, she has to forgive him and continue with the marriage. I really don't want to do this, and I have to talk about that. Imagine. Christian
Wow.
movies, they are
Wow,
awful.
you are really going to need an outlet later on.
You really are. You really
Oof.
are. Oy vey.
Think about
Okay.
starting to try tequila or something.
Yeah, yeah. Tequila's good. Moscow's good too.
Bad
Um,
times, yeah. Teetotal.
all that. Yeah, yeah. No, actually, tequila. Yeah, tequila. That part. Okay. So before we go, guys, I know that both of you all happen to have platforms that you guys represent. Teo, go ahead and tell people where they can find you if they want to get more of you going down the line.
Yeah, sadly, most of my content is in Spanish. So if you want to practice Spanish or if you speak Spanish, go and check Nuestra Experiencia Atea. Over there, I have several sections about the Bible, Quran. We have been reading the Book of Mormon. I have been criticizing some books of the Jehovah Witnesses that are against anti-science, and I will start this week with a book about Apocalypse, explaining why Revelations is not prophecy. We also have some sections about philosophy and science in general. And if you just like my voice, there is actually one list that is called Teo Speaks Alone, Teo Habla Solo, in which you have only me talking about different topics without guests. So if you like it,
Mm,
try that and you will enjoy it. Oh,
nice.
also there is one list about all my interviews in English. So if you want to hear me speaking in English or in other shows, there is also a playlist for that.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I've been trying to get my Spanish up, Teo. So I think I need to go ahead and absorb some more of your content so that I can go ahead and get my it's not the vocabulary. My vocabulary is pretty good. It's the conversation. That's
Right.
my
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
The
The flow. You
conjugation.
got to get the flow.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Yes.
That is that awful. I know.
It's just you gotta start somewhere, right? So, Scott, where can the people find you if they want more of Mr. Dickie?
Well, I'm one of the hosts of a show called Talk Heathen. In fact, I was just on today with the wonderful Sydney Davis Jr. And so we had our love theme post Valentine's Day show today. And so I'm on that, once or twice a month. And I also like to hang out on my friends' shows and talk about shit.
Yes. Lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to update the description, guys, so that I can go ahead and include Teo and also Scott's links as far as like where you guys can find them. And you should listen to their stuff because they're dear, dear friends of mine. I love them dearly. We've been working together for quite some time. And having you both back on, it's like old times. I'm getting all the feels of nostalgia again.
Yeah. This was really cool. I really appreciate you asking us to come on, Cynthia. This was really awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy as well, and I hope that we can keep doing this because this feels awesome.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Call me anytime.
I got
Same here.
you. And you know what, you guys, I think I'm about to, before I do my final thing, I feel like that I want to resurrect something that we're both all familiar with. You ready?
All right.
Y'all
Ooh,
ready?
I
it's
think
You
I
going
know
to
ready?
be
what's
good.
coming. I think I know.
You
what's
think you know
coming.
what's coming? I think you
Yeah.
know what's coming too. Here we
Yeah.
go. 1, 2, I know what to do. A step in the right direction. Step in the right direction. Yeah, step in the right direction. We're stepping in the right direction.
All
Yeah.
right. Boy, I haven't heard that in so long. That's
I
so
know,
nice.
right? I know. Wait a minute. I had to resurrect it just for shits and giggles. Why not?
Right.
Oh, guys. So, again, thank you again for being here, guys. And everybody who happened to come and watch the show live, I really do appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody that was in the comment section below. As far as the chat in to the side of us or below, however you're actually engaging. Thank you for engaging. Want to also make sure to give that call to action to like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, even if you are happening to watch this show after it airs live. Please, give your comments and your thoughts. All of that helps so much. And I want to have these conversations continue going forward. They are super important. So, yes, please do that for me, poor favor. Also, if you guys like the content on this show, please think about supporting this channel. You can actually support by going to www.patreon.com/camglamming and become a patron. I'm in the process of actually updating some things on the Patreon page, and bringing in some more perks and things of that nature that will give you a little bit more enticement to actually becoming a patron. But if you just want to go ahead and support, you can start at just $1 to $3 a month. Thank you so much.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
That's all.
And,
That's all.
and every little step adds up too.
It really does. It really does. And whatever you all can do, I would really appreciate it. But liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, encouraging other people to watch you, that does a great big deal. And that costs you no money. So please do all that as well. And next week, we are going to have on the president and founder of the Black Non-Believers, Mandisa Thomas, as we do our next inception or episode of protest songs, where we're going to talk about Gil Scott-Heron. And I'm so much sure looking forward to that. We had a really good time the last time that we did our protest song stream. So hopefully you guys can join us for that as well. And as we round up this particular evening, guys, I just want to make everybody aware to stay grounded, stay aware, stay hydrated, and remember, at the end of the day, the roots matter. Take care, everybody.